Another warning from Barack Obama today. More Russian aggression will lead to more economic sanctions. The U.S. president met with the head of NATO today. The U.S. says it remains firm in its commitment to defend NATO members against Russian aggression. But is Obama's stance tough enough? Will Vladimir Putin back down? Let's find out as we go stateside. Joining me now, the managing editor of Think Progress, Igor Volsky, and Republican strategist Ford O'Connell. All right, let me start with you, Ford. Obama met with EU leaders and the NATO Secretary General in Brussels today. The EU and the U.S. have pledged to strengthen sanctions if Putin goes beyond Crimea into eastern Ukraine. NATO has agreed to, quote, enhanced exercises and appropriate deployments. Is his stance tough enough?
Absolutely not. Vladimir Putin does not respond to conditional threats or even having his G8 decoder ring taken away. He understands one thing, and that's tough actions. And basically putting it in front of a sort of conditional veiled threat is not going to be good enough. You're going to actually have to put the sanctions in place because, frankly, it's going to take 2 to 3 years, even if the entire EU and the U.S. are on the same page with respect to the sanctions. And, frankly, he's probably going to have to contemplate through NATO arming parts of Ukraine and possibly Moldova. He's going to actually have to get a step ahead of Vladimir Putin if he wants to slow him down in his tracks.
The speech he made today just reaffirmed that if Putin thinks he can go further, he's going to be in big, big trouble. At this point, that's really all he can do. That's all that lawmakers, I think, on both sides of the aisle have called on him to do. So, I mean, you can criticize him as weak, but when it comes to the actual policy, I think the solutions are the same from both sides.
And Igor, let me add to that. I'm not saying that what he isn't thinking about conditionally doing is right. What I'm trying to tell you is he has to invoke those sanctions now, because the question isn't if Putin goes further. The question is going to be when Putin does go further, because there is a lag time between when you invoke the sanctions and when the effects are actually felt in Russia. So if I were him, I'd get ahead of the game, not trailing Vladimir Putin.
The problem with these are the United States and the EU might not necessarily be on the same page in terms of the sanctions.
So I think, again, we're in this situation where Obama and some of the European nations are doing all they can, but as Ford points out, it can't be done overnight. There's no magic switch. It's going to take some time.
I now really have to laugh after 7 months on this program talking about Keystone Pipeline and the fact that this administration has had Keystone under review for 5 years. And Igor just said 3 years it would come online. Guess what? Well, that would be just in time for right now. Here's the point. There is no realistic alternative substitute to fossil fuels yet. And until there is, basically America needs to bring Keystone forward and other fracking projects, because until there's an energy that can actually support robust economies like the U.S. and our allies, we have no choice. Energy is the new nukes, if you will. And essentially, if we're going to have energy security for U.S. and our allies, we're going to have to push that path forward. So John Hoven's absolutely right.
Keystone's going to pump what, 830,000 oil per day. I think the Russian number there is about 9.2 billion barrels of oil a day. So when you talk about Keystone trying to take on Russian oil monopoly, I mean, it doesn't really.
The great thing about liberals is they don't understand economics.
You need more solutions than saying, let's just build Keystone, let's approve it, and that will solve the
If
problem.
I increase the world oil supply, I decrease the need for it in the price, and that's exactly the point. Europe has divested itself from fossil fuels as much as it can, and the reason is because it's too expensive. Igor, you keep missing the point. There's no alternative substitute yet for fossil fuels unless they build more nuclear, and your green people won't allow me to do that.
All right, guys, I want to leave you with 2 quick stories. First, a greeting from the new U.S. ambassador to Canada, Bruce Heyman. He was sworn in today.
All Canadians need to know about the new ambassador is he doesn't have a public stance on the Keystone Pipeline, therefore he won't be fighting for it, and the fact that he's a Chicago Blackhawks fan should actually be blasphemy to Canadians.
All right. I just want your reaction. This is the weirdest story of the day, so I'm just going to throw it at you. It's being called a totalitarian hair regime, not an hair. Reports say, I got to confirm this, that male university students in North Korea are now required to get the very same haircut as their leader, Kim Jong-un.
I just can't believe that there's reverse sexism in North Korea, to be perfectly honest with you, Evan. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and it gives you the reason why we need to have democracy and choice.
You know, they're doing it all wrong. We all know that the cheapest and most uniform look is to just buzz the head, the Mr. Clean, shiny head look. That's how you get everybody on the same page.
No, I see.
The Canadian mullet is my choice, though.
You go mullet. Okay, Ford goes mullet, and Igor chooses to shave his head.
That's right.
In North Korea.
Conservative here again?
North Korea, they're doing it. All right. Igor Volsky and Ford O'Connell, here today, gone tomorrow. All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Coming up.